and in today's video I'm just going to be going over the updates to Enhancement Shaman and 10.1, the rotation, and then what scenarios you want to take the talents for. And as always, I'll put all the links into the description if you want more of a guide about Enhancement Shaman. That will be in the description as well. I made a video about that about a couple months back, and let's just get right into it. Nothing much changed for talents. You still have the full single target one, you have the dungeon one, and you have the single target and some AoE with some slight variations. Alright, so what bosses will you take this one for? I'll mostly go over the mythic bosses because heroic's kind of a joke this tier, which is a good thing because you can breeze through it, but I'll just go into that for the mythic choices. Single target, you're going to want to do Kazara, Amalgamation, Rashok, Magmarax, and potentially Skarn. I'd advise using the other one, but those bosses you can use a single target one on. And then for the single target, some AoE, but this is just, if anyone curious, the full single target is just RNG Ascendance, Elemental Blast, and Doom Winds. And then the single target, some AoE, is kind of the dungeon one, but with Elemental Blast. Instead of having Crash Lightning and Crashing Storms, you have Elemental Blast and Storm's Wrath. This is used on Forgotten Experiments and Skarn. I think this build works the best for those two. Now, there's a weird build that people have been going for Assault and Forgotten Experiments. People have been running this build, and sometimes in dungeons. I say to stay away from this build because I don't like RNG and I don't like not having Lava Lash. So this is the build. Some people have some pretty nice damage on it. I advise against it and just use the other ones, but if you want to test it out, go for it. Now there's also the single target for more AoE. What that just means is instead of having Swirling Maelstrom, you'll have Crash Lightning. This is used for Echo and Sark. Now, and then you'll have the classic Wind Fury Dungeon. This is used on Assault, and it's also used for every dungeon scenario because you literally just can't beat it. It's too good. The reason why this one's better than the other one is that you get so much AoE damage compared to the other build. The other build is definitely better for bosses, but you lose so much on AoE to a point where it's not really worth. Anyway, and let's just get into the rotation and a little bit of the differences. So before, your tier set buffed your abilities every time you press Stormstrike. However, now when you press Sunder, you get Mastery, you get buffs to your fire damage and physical damage, and so I was just trying to look for it. And you get a Chain Lightning, 2 stacks of them that deals 100% increased damage. So what's the difference in rotation? Well, let's look right into it. First, let's just start with the full single target one because that's the easiest to go through. So let me just get that loaded up. Okay. So there really isn't much of a difference. You're going to be casting Flame Shock into Wolves, into Doom Winds, into Sunder, to Potion, and then you're just going to be mashing Stormstrike until you get 10 stacks of Chain Lightning, or Maelstrom, so you can cast Chain Lightning, mash, 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 Chain Lightning when you get 10, and then now that when you have 10, now you pull into Elemental Blast, then Lightning Bolt. I do want to make a note though that once you enter Ascendance, you'll be casting your last used lightning ability. Meaning if you cast Chain Lightning before, you're going to cast Chain Lightning in Ascendance. So when you enter Ascendance, if you don't have the proc of Sundering or of the tier set, make sure you cast Lightning Bolt to change the damage. Just want to throw that out there. It's kind of complicated and weird that I wish it just buffed the Lightning Bolt. That way you don't have to cast Chain Lightning in single target, but so whatever. So that's kind of the note. And then basically when you're pooling for Chain Lightning, when you get the Sunder proc, or tier set proc, it's going to be number 1 prio with Stormstrike. And then you want a Lava Lash. If you don't have that, then you Ice Strike. And if you don't have anything else, then you Frost Shock. And if you don't have anything else and you AFK, then you're just really unlucky. And I'll just give a brief demonstration. You put your totem, Fire, Wolves, Doom Winds, Sunder, Stormstrike, Lava Lash. We got 10, Chain Lightning, Stormstrike, Frost Shock, 10, Chain Lightning, Stormstrike, got 10, Elemental Blast. And that's essentially the rotation for single target. I don't know. I have been really unlucky with proccing Ascendance, but that's technically the rotation. Nothing much changes. Only thing you have to be aware of is when you do Sunder, you just chain lightning. And honestly, I will say this, there might be a precast Elemental Blast before you begin the fight. That way you just get rid of one of the charges because you'll be pulling into chain lightning to begin with. And then you're going to want to cast a lightning bolt if you ever ascend. So probably precast Elemental Blast. Okay. One for your dungeon. What's the rotation? I'm going to go over this single target one real quick because I want to mention the other build as well. So for the single target, as always, you cast that. It's going to be Wolves into Primordial Wave into Sunder into a Lightning Bolt. And then you're going to want to pull Maelstrom into Chain Lightning. Then you're going to pull Maelstrom into Chain Lightning again. And you're going to pull Maelstrom into Lava Burst. The reason why I want to bring that up is that that's the same thing for single target some AoE. After you cast your lightning bolt with Primordial Wave, and then you cast your 2 chain lightning procs with the tier set, then you're going to want to do Lava Burst or Elemental Blast. So number one prio of abilities to press is that there's a huge chain. You're going to want to, number one, make sure your Flame Shock is on everything, caps at 6 targets, and then when your Lava Lash only spreads to 5. So if there's 6 targets, you're going to want a Flame Shock, tab target, Primordial Wave, Lava Lash. It's going to be on all 6. Okay? Then we're going to Wolves, and then we're going to Sunder, and now we're ready to do the damage. Now that we're ready for the damage, you Lightning Bolt to get rid of your stacks. Or use your Primordial Wave buff, which attacks every target that has Flame Shock on it, giving you a bunch of haste. And now we have to pull Maelstrom for your Chain Lightning buff. You just press Crash Lightning, Ice to make your abilities AoE. And you Ice Strike, Frost Shock. If you don't have 10, then you press Stormstrike. If you don't have 10, then you press Lava Lash. If you don't have 10, then you press Frost Shock. You know, it's just... You're kind of just pooling now just for Maelstrom to do a Chain Lightning. That's all it is for AoE. And when we get to that part after we cast a Lightning Bolt, it's going to be number 1, Ice Strike, Frost Shock. Those 2 abilities, you're going to want to cast number 1. Number 2, Crash Lightning just to make sure your ability is AoE. Number 3, Stormstrike because that generates the most amount of Maelstrom. And then number 4, Lava Lash. Also, remember that you're full into Lava Lash, so you're going to want to tab target and Lava Lash everybody as well to spread that dot to make your Flame Shock tick harder. It's a lot of things to keep track of, I know, but I'll just give you a full demonstration and walk you through it slowly, then I'll do a fast one. So for slow, I'm imagining that this is a 6 targets right here, right? Flame Shock, tab, Wolves, Primordial Wave. Then we Lava Lash spread. Now that we have it, boom, Sunder. Now I'm ready. Lightning Bolt. How we pool. Pool for 10. Like Chain Lightning. Pool for 10 again. Then we pull for 10 again. That's essentially it. And then just keep targeting to do the Lava Lash spread. Frost Shock. That's what it is. That's all it is for AoE, and you'll be doing some okay damage. Just the biggest reminder is that if you look at your damage done by abilities, your Chain Lightning is the biggest. That's what we're pulling for to begin with. And then Frost Shock is a sleeper that does a lot of damage. I will want to note, which I have to work and be a little bit better on, is that the only way Frost Shock becomes AoE is after you cast or get rid of your Maelstrom. So try to work on a pattern of casting Chain Lightning before you cast Frost Shock, or casting it Chain Lightning after you cast Frost Shock, or after, just so you're always aware. That way you know it's always going to be AoE. Otherwise, if you press it for one target, it's not really going to do much. But it'll just come with time and practice. You just have to practice rotation honestly a lot just to get muscle memory, and then I'll just give a full demonstration. I'm going to imagine that this is just 5 targets on this one. All right, if you want to look down here, this is where my casting is, and I'll just give you a full demonstration without me talking and try to press the buttons as fast as I can. That's the biggest thing. Enhance is like, why I don't really recommend it is you're pressing a lot of buttons at all times, so it's all crazy. Anyway. And that's essentially it. You do some pretty crazy damage as Enhance. See, Frost Shock, there's a sleeper. Just be careful, be aware, and try to press that as much as you can. And remember to cast your 10 stacks of Maelstrom. But yeah, that's it. Shaman's pretty much the same. It's just basically you get the Chain Lightning proc after you Sunder, and so you're going to want to make sure you cast for AoE. It's Primordial Wave into Sunder to Lightning Bolt to pool for Chain Lightning. Frost Shock on cooldown for single target. The other build, after you do your single target, some AoE, same kind of opener, except once you're done with Chain Lightning, now you're pulling for Elemental Blast. And then for single target, the full one is just you get rid of your Chain Lightning and then you Elemental Blast into Lightning Bolt. That's what we pool for. That's it. Any more questions on how to be more clear? I'm sorry, it's like very convoluted, the class. I mean, like once you practice it more of understanding what it'll get easier, but you just have to practice the rotational pooling for the abilities, make it muscle memory, because it's a pretty fast class. You're going to be pressing like all those buttons all the time, so it's like a very big rotation, especially if you're in dungeons and you're kicking, stunning, knocking up, and like using your other abilities as well. Anyway, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. I'm just gonna go over some other random builds that I'm memeing with that I want to try, but yeah, thanks for watching. I hope this helped, and I'll see you next time. I don't know if I'm going to be trying to climb dungeons on my shaman. I might try to do that, or my warlock. I will see, but stay tuned for more. If you enjoyed, sub, like, comment, and that's it. See you next time. Okay, but now I just want to go over the talents real quick. I want to do this as a meme build that's like you have Primordial Wave still in Ascendance. Test that out. I also wanted to test out Ascendance like 3-minute with that stone iridescent fragment. I was like, maybe it isn't simming right. You have to try it. I'm curious. Test number 2 is that same build, except we have Fire Nova and we have Doomwind. This is like we literally have like every spell. But I want to try it out. I don't know if it's going to be good. It's kind of crazy, but it's whatever. Now this one is the like variation of the other one, because you have Doomwinds and the Ascendants and you have the Wolves. But now we have going to Hailstrom just to get that. But for some reason this doesn't do well, and I don't know why. I thought it would. And this is like the OG tree build that people used to do on like Academy for big damage. It isn't used anymore, so I'm surprised. I'm just thought I'd mention it. There's also another build that I thought I did. I think I was using this build, but I don't think I had wolves. Maybe I had 2 stacks into that. I don't know. It's kind of interesting because I will say this. This new build that people are using is kind of similar to the build that I cooked up. I forget where it was or what it was, the original build, because like for some reason all my talents got deleted. But because I still had Lava Lash, but I don't think, because I was like I wanted the Ascendants, and I remember having Doomwinds. I don't think I ever went to EB or had this, but I had like I think 2 here and maybe like one or two here and only one there or something. But like I didn't have hailstorm. That's all I remember. It was a strange build. I mean, like this is pretty like okay, but not having lava lash just feels weird. But anyway, those builds. Oh, I want to go over the trinkets real quick. So these are my trinkets. I think these are pretty good. They're called the Dominance and Harlan's Loaded Dice. That is definitely what people have been using. Or that's what I've been using. They're pretty good. Honestly, trinkets are very strange right now. And since we're kind of early into the patch, there's going to be very huge differences to what's BIS. Technically, what's BIS for at least single target, I think is called the Dominance. And it's going to be that sphere that drops off Forgotten Experiments. Yes, that's technically what is BIS. However, I think Loaded Dice is pretty good. I've been enjoying this combo. I've been doing some pretty decent damage. Apparently the bomb dispenser is really good for single target. The anvil. I don't suggest the Screaming Black Dragon skill because I don't like the way it works. Yeah, I think the trinkets to at least look for single target is the sphere, Call the Dominance, Dragonfire Bomb, Loaded Dice, and maybe Anvil. Those 5 trinkets are what you should try to acquire. And then for AoE, I think it might be the same thing. Oh, for AoE is actually, so it's the sphere. By that I mean Ominous Chromatic Essence. The Harlan's Dice. Interesting. It has Erupting Spear Fragment for AoE. That kind of makes sense. Idol of Earth Warder. Really? And then Call the Dominance. I think for AoE, probably the 2 best one. Or is that the best for number 1 too? Yeah. I think the number 1 trinket for Shaman is probably going to be the Ominous Chromatic Essence. That's what it's looking like. And for AoE, you pair that up with Dice or Spear Fragment. And then for single target, you probably pair that up with the orb with Dice, Dragonfire Bomb, or Call the Dominance. But as always, sim to see what's best. Like I said, technically best is the Sphere and Dominance. But yeah, good luck. I hope this helped a little bit. I'll see you next time. Doses.